Well, what's going on, everybody? It's your girl Pam with 2200 Taps. Yo, I just fair warning, I gotta tell you, if you have kiddos in the car, you may want to change the channel pretty quickly. Little ears around, and you want to police it. This is gonna be a pretty difficult conversation, and most of our guests that come on, they do share hard things, but this is more, when it comes to parents and children and some of the stuff that these parents have been dealing with and these kids have been going through. We're gonna take a really deep dive into fentanyl. It's another bad word. Other than the four-letter bad word that we all know. It's another bad F word that we've all come to know in a really horrific way and not in a good way. But what
Come
I
here,
want
Bubba.
to,
Come here.
but I want
Come
to
here.
tell you right now, I've got a old friend of mine that I've known for a while, and we're gonna just roll with it. She's got her two babies with her, so if you hear babies in the background, it's just gonna have to be what it is. Hi, buddy. Hi, yo. And for those that can't see, I'm looking at a really curly-headed a little one. Look at you, dude. Look at him. He's the best. Matter of fact, so yeah, so my next guest is Stephanie Hellstern. And Stephanie is a mom of, you make really beautiful kids. Like even Kyle had like the hair and everything, and I'm
Yes,
sure we'll get into it. Hi,
yes,
buddy.
yes,
Hi. And for those on YouTube, you guys are gonna see who I'm looking at. But until then, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today.
yes, of course,
So
yes.
much. I wish you were under different circumstances. We're gonna talk about that here in a little bit, but man, I haven't seen you. I don't think the twins were born when I last saw you at Bucky's. I think that was the last time
Yeah,
I saw you.
yeah, no.
Yeah, so it's been a minute.
Yeah,
How
it's
you
been a couple
doing?
weeks. I'm doing
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
just momming it up.
Dude, I'm telling you. I love when you can hear the little ones, when I have guests that have the babies, it's like, hey, we're just gonna roll with it because that's life. We're gonna do it. But thank you for joining us today. It really means the world to us. So what we're gonna do today, I hope our audio is working pretty good. I just kind of want to deep dive. We met a long time ago at a training that helped both of us. And I actually knew your son. I met your son. I met your boy. I met
Mhm.
Kyle. And in 2020, you lost him.
Yeah,
I, I we just it's so hard to even want to talk about. I don't want to accept the fact that people that I know have lost their children. I just don't. We just buried a friend of mine last week, and it's just like grief is god awful.
mhm.
It's kicked my ass all week and sent me to the emergency room yesterday, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Um, well, man, take us back to that because that was just a rude awakening. I can't even imagine as a parent.
yeah,
What was that all like for you, kind of leading up to it? COVID happened, and I know
yeah,
a little bit about what you saw and what you how you found him and everything, but
yeah.
share
So
whatever's on your heart. Yeah.
you talk about the worst thing. Like, I would not even wish it upon my worst enemy if I had one. You talked about the training too, and I really feel like the training helped me as well. Like, I think if I didn't have those tools, I mean, there's all little areas that are coming up in my head right now. I mean, when I found him, there was all kinds of thoughts. I had never, we've all sometimes thought about suicide at times.
Mm.
But losing your only child, you're a single mom, that is your world, like everything revolves around it. He was 16 years old, his name was Kyle. And I feel like before it actually happened, I feel like God was kind of releasing, him from me, if that makes sense. As in, like, you know, I will be honest. I'm gonna be honest this whole time. Like, I was probably a
Sure.
little codependent with him at one point. Oh, Bubba, sorry, you fell. And
Oh, you're
come here,
good.
you're fine. You're fine. Yes, I see it. And so I feel like and that was about the time I was getting my master's degree, when God was revealing, hey, you're a little codependent. So I did some therapy around that aspect at first before I lost him. And so I was letting him be a teenager, and not be so controlling in some areas, but enough that he knew the rules and what he's not supposed to be doing. We had talked about drugs, alcohol, sex. I mean, name it. We had those conversations, but nobody prepared me for the word fentanyl. Like, I think if anybody asked me then, I wouldn't have known what it was. I maybe like heard it in passing and maybe just thought it was, oh, that's something with addiction or an addict, or referred it to somebody that was homeless, right? So when I actually during that time frame, to kind of take you back, um you said COVID, right? So everybody's distancing, like, everybody within COVID knew exactly what to do, mask, all that, right? Like it was quick.
Mm.
Once we found out what it was and what was spreading, everybody sent out alerts, right? And I was doing taxes during that season. I was making really good money. I was doing really well off. My spiritual journey was really good. And of course, this was around July. He passed on technically the 13th at night when I found him, but they didn't pronounce him gone until the next morning, basically. But I was uh tax season had gotten extended, and I stayed late at work to help one of my clients that wanted to get his son into college, and he needed his taxes done. And of course, he waited, and I was working on it and sent it out some of the stuff over. And then I was heading home. I was texting Kyle, trying to call him, and it wasn't like, kids, right? Like most of the time if they're not answering, maybe they'll call you right back, or maybe they're taking a nap, that kind of thing. So I was calling to see, hey, had you eaten? Do you want me to bring you something for dinner? It was pretty late when I was getting off. I think our office closed at like 8 or 9, and I stayed a little bit afterwards too. And I had
Mm.
talked to him earlier that day, he had actually just gotten back from a deep sea fishing trip with his uncle. So I saw him the night before when he got home. Of course, we watched TV, cuddled, all that's good stuff. And, I said, hey, I have one more day of tax, tax weekend kind of thing. And I came back and I couldn't find him anywhere. Like, that is the worst feeling that anybody can feel is like, I picked up my phone, get on Apple iPhone and I'm looking and it says he's there. And I remember at one point when it kind of on the phone, it showed him down the street and then it kind of had to update and then it showed it here. So that kind of gave me a clue like, okay, well, maybe you left to go to the park. And then, but I looked everywhere. At that time, I had changed my garage into a gym. Even before COVID happened, I had done that. So I was like, okay, maybe he's out there chilling. Nope. I went in my room. Sometimes he'd use my shower. Nope. And I even called his uncle, like, hey, you didn't happen to get him, or anything. He's like, no. And so he starts calling his phone. Something in my spirit, and I know it was the Holy Spirit, just, was telling me like it's brought me to the back door and the blinds were kind of closed. So I'm like, okay. So if I had not turned on the light, opened the door and actually like stepped out to look, like, initially I kind of looked, but then I like actually stepped out and Kyle was on the floor of, where the patio concrete is. And in that moment, I was like, what the, like I literally was like, Kyle, what the, and, like, and then I realized he's not moving, he's not breathing. Like, I'm seeing, and then his phone's ringing. So his uncle, so I quickly was like, oh my God. And I was like, you got to get your ass over here, basically, and he was over there faster than the police. I called at the same time on my phone. It was a lot of moving parts
Yeah.
and in that moment, but, I'm trying to think. After I called his uncle, I think I called my dad and I had my dad call everybody else because I just was not in the
Mhm.
mindset. And I think by the time the ambulance got there, I just went to my closet. I called it my prayer closet. It was a huge walk-in closet. And my bathroom to go into the closet was decorated in the ocean, and that was my safe place,
Yeah.
and some of the training and just anywhere. I just love the beach and the sound. And all I could do initially was just I got down on my knees and I got down and put my head down on the floor and I just was praying and I was like, God, like you brought Lazarus, like I was deep praying. I was doing like just everything you could think of to do as a spiritual person in that moment. I tried and I was dating someone at that time and he was going through a hard time. So he immediately came over as well. And we all were in shock. It was all shock. And I remember um, really nice guy came in with the ambulance, and he said, "Hey," like he started asking me questions, and he was just, he's only 16. We tried several times to, bring him back, but it just they basically told me that they could get his heart like back basically, but he would be brain dead. Like so yeah, so it was just one of those things. It's like I see other parents that go through where, in that decision, immediate was like they just pronounced him gone, right? But then I see other parents that lost their kids from the same way, and they rush them to the hospital, and then they have this hope that, maybe they'll come out of it, and so then they're on life support for, a week or several days. And I'm like, man, I mean, I guess you could say your goodbyes at the same time, but I don't know. So there's like, I had that questioning a lot during
Mm.
that time frame, but yeah,
Questioning what?
questioning as in like, man, like, I mean, because it was so immediately, it was something that we didn't know like it was going to happen.
Yeah.
We weren't prepared. We didn't like, I I knew he dabbled, like I knew he smoked weed occasionally, but we talked about weed, and he's like, I don't really like how it makes me feel sometimes. I could tell he didn't like the losing the control part of, he said sometimes it was nice because he would giggle with his friends and laugh. Um, but we talked about that aspect, and um it took like 3 to 4 months for me to find out that it was fentanyl. Like, and that was COVID, and that they said that's pretty like normal, like they give 90 days to, for an autopsy to tell what thing, how long it takes. But I'm just like, I'm over here like, what happened? Like, there was and I wrote all this down. Like when it all happened, I became like detective. I don't know if you like all the true crimes, but that's what I was doing. I was
Yeah.
book, like putting all my notes of like I couldn't find certain things of his. So I'm like, okay, did a friend do that? Like what happened? And like my best friend at that time, she immediately was, because people were asking like, why did he pass? Why did he die? And that was a really hard word to say, is die. Like when it first happened, I kept saying, oh no, he passed. Like say that
Yeah.
so hard.
Well, and not to like cut you off, but
Yeah.
recently we just buried a friend of ours, and the medical team kept referring to him as the body.
Oh no. Yeah,
And
no.
our guys are like, no, like he's a
No.
dad, he's a husband.
Yes, yes.
And it was like, I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah.
you don't do that. I did that to a lady that lost her husband once, and I'm like, he was a good man, and she's like, he is a good man. I'm like,
Yes.
ah, like
Yes.
yes, like it's just part
Yes.
of it, and
Yes.
I
I think some
get,
of those people get desensitized with some of it, and maybe they
yeah,
need to, because man, I can't imagine having to do that like, especially like
yeah,
like I said, he tried several times, and he just was like, so when
yeah.
we found out it said acute fentanyl intoxication, my detective, I say, like mommy detective was like, what is this? Like, what can, and that's when I also was like questioning, okay, who was he with? Where, all that aspect. And um when I found him, like I said, he was on the patio. He was like kind of leaned over, and it looked like to me that someone tried to cover it up. Like like fertilizer for the lawn. I had a bag of it underneath one of the seats, right? And he was on top, like it looked like someone spread the fertilizer out and had him on it
Hmm.
to make it look like, I don't know what they were trying to do, but make it look like he was, I don't know, sniffing, I don't know, doing something what, supposed to, I guess. But what to me was the biggest thing that I tried to even get the detective at the time to look at was, why was his phone, like he's over here, why, by the patio back door, why is his phone way over there at the table by a chair? Like, and then when the ambulance came, I never locked my back gate. Like that was closed or like locked. And so they had to knock my fence part down to come through. So I'm like, so there was a lot of unanswered questions for a very long time, a very long time. And I just kept praying to God. I'm like, okay, you'll reveal the truth when I need to know it. Like, and what was really hard for me was at the time, the detective didn't call me. I had his uncle, he was looking online, which I didn't even realize you could see deaths, online.
Hmm.
And during that time, I'm like, well, who did this? Like, if that's up there, they know my address. Like, all these like
Yeah.
bad thoughts are coming through my head, and basically it took almost a good, okay, so it took like 3 or 4 months for me to find out. Then like 4 months later, like, you know, some people were like, hey, and I started looking through Kyle's phone, and there was so much stuff that I saw on his phone that I had no idea. Like, so this is one of the things as a parent now, when I go public speak about it, is I'm like, you pay for the phone. You need to look in the phone. Like, I mean, there was a point like Kyle was living a double life, basically.
Hmm.
Like one thing online, and of course with me and family, which I mean, who doesn't? I mean, I did modeling acting. Nobody knew about that side of me, and then my personal side,
Yeah, everybody does it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yes. So, what I found out through like just people starting to come to me, and of course, what's sad is it took, because it's been 6 years now, just okay, almost 2 years ago, before it was about to be an anniversary and stuff, and someone reached out to me, and they were about to be a mother,
Hmm.
and they felt like I should really know what happened. I to
To
Kyle. To Kyle. They well, okay, there's two instances this happened. One, right after Kyle passed, I think it was about a year or so, she became pregnant and she wanted me to know what happened. And she said, hey, I just think so because I'm becoming a mother. I would want to know too. And she told me you really need to talk to his best friend. And
oh
she
shit.
Yes, which
Okay.
I had an idea. I mean, I didn't want to accuse anybody. I didn't want to and of course I was still learning about fentanyl at that time too.
Hmm.
And what I found out, at that time when I started researching is that they're making those fake pills. And so what I found out through the grapevine is Kyle wanted to buy weed, but, he just got back from his trip. He's just wanting to chill, I guess. And he calls the best friend, and doing through Snapchat, which is some of the messages I saw, and I tried to hand over to the detective. And he wanted to buy weed, and his friend only had what he thought was a Percocet, and it was pure fentanyl. And I truly believe the friend that gave it or sold it did not know. I truly believe at that time it was just something, kind of newer, like, you know, um, and I know some of this is because, and let me back up a little bit. I mentioned the double life, right, with Kyle. And right before COVID, earlier the year before, Kyle got in trouble at school. And only certain people know this side of the story. I usually share this with people that, like, if I'm going to a rehab or recovery or addiction side, because I don't want to act like Kyle's this, yes, he was sweet, loving, caring, but he did have another side. We all have our inner demons with things,
Hmm.
right? And he saw his best friend at that time, um, wheeling and dealing. And he was very good at that time. You met Kyle, like, he hated that his dad smoked weed, right? And he was like, oh, and he got mad about it. And I go, and I explained to him why certain people do it. Not saying I condone it, that kind of aspect too. But I wanted him to understand, And his dad also had a mental health disorder. So I was like, he feels like that helps versus taking medicine, which I'm not saying that's right either. And so then he saw his best friend doing it too and smoking. And so I think he got a very different perspective, thinking, okay, well, if he's doing it and he's okay, like, let me try,
Yeah.
and that's how it all starts, right? I never really understood what they meant by saying, oh, what do they say about like it opens the gate, like
Pandora's box.
yeah, like the gate,
Uh,
like they think it's a
oh
gateway.
yeah. Yeah, the
I
gateway
never
drug. Yeah.
understood that. I was like, what? I was like, I don't remember ever, and I experimented too in college, and we never did it really in high school. I didn't want to get in trouble by my parents, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, with his best friend, what I found out is through reading through messages, people starting to reach out to me. And I wasn't really, this is one of the things that's crazy. And later someone's like, you're trying to blame him. I'm like, I'm not trying, like if you hear my heart, this is somebody that called me Aunt Stephanie. This is someone that the family I've known since I was in elementary school. Like my best friend was his mom, and they were best friends aspect. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
at that time, I needed just to get my head around it. Like I wasn't like most people. Yes, I got a little ups. Of course you go through the grieving, but you also go back through the grieving. It's
Yeah.
just cluster F. No.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that like I went through that, but then I got mad more like at Kyle, like, man, you should have known better. Like, or, and then I'm like at his best friend, man, he should know, but I mean, you don't know what you don't know sometimes. And so to go back to what I wanted to explain and not a lot of people know is Kyle had gotten in trouble at school. Like about a year before that. And we were waiting for the police basically to tell us what was going to happen with him. Like we scared the crap out of him at that time. Like called his dad, called his uncle, some of his dad's friends came, they were in the military, so they're like, "Hey, you might."
Damn.
Yeah, they're trying to get him like just, and basically what happened is he got caught with a pill.
Mm,
And at that time, we had shown
damn.
up late to school and he wasn't feeling good before this, right?
Mm,
And so I dropped him off and I saw this kid like dab him, but I was like, oh, he knows him, he's leaving and coming in. And then later on, I'm like almost home and I get a call from the school and I'm like, and they're like, hey, we really need to talk to you. Can you come here? And I'm like, what could be like, at first I'm thinking, okay, he's maybe not feeling well or whatever, right? So I turn around and back around and the principal's like, hey, like Kyle's grades are good. I see all this, but and this was already, she basically told me, she's like, Stephanie, this was already happening before, before Kyle getting in trouble. So we're just
mhm.
trying to figure out who is doing this. And that best friend had already gotten kicked out. He followed him from another school, got kicked, so it was one of the things that even though we wanted to kind of separate, but you know how that is as a teenager. Like if someone tells you don't hang out, like what do they do? So I was trying
Mhm.
to be, like too controlling on some levels, but enough that he knew, hey, we got to be careful about who we hang out with, like
Like,
aspect.
like, how do you manage that? Like your own best friend. I can't even imagine trying to figure that out. Yeah, no.
Well, the thing is like he was his best friend at that time was like I said, willing and dealing. He saw him starting to make money, and then of course, you're a teenager, and you're
Mm,
thinking like, and this is where I, really view like, I know you heard this from your parents. Hey, that crap, that music stinks, like, or that has, and you're just
I
like,
still hear it from my mom.
yes, yes, okay. So I now understand at that level. Like I do not really like the music nowadays. Like I
Yeah.
still listen to my old stuff, but and what's interesting is whenever Kyle passed, I tried to get into his Apple account, and luckily I could because I had his password to his Gmail, which is one of the things I always tell parents is always have access to stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so even though he might have changed his password on his phone, I couldn't get in. I was able to get into his email, and that's where I saw his Apple Music, and it was so much. I used to listen to rap and pop, and all the different stuff, and a lot of it was talking about, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
pills, drugs, alcohol, girls, all that stuff, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
whoa, like, I mean, he never really listened to that around me, so I was really, I mean. I don't know if you remember when he was going because he went through the teen family camp training, right?
I wasn't his
And it,
trainer, but I was
it
in his
the class, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And he was writing raps, which at first I wanted to be like, this is Renly.
That's the other baby. Hi.
And
Dude, the
so
girls.
I really wanted to like during that time, and that was luckily I went through the training. I wanted to be like, no, don't rap, don't do this stuff, right? And instead, I feel like this movie comes on right afterwards, and I think it's about Biggie, where
Hmm.
he started like learning how and I felt like at that time I was like, God's showing me, hey, he's using rap to express, to talk out some of these things that he's going through. And I share all that is because Kyle was dealing with things and he was dealing with identity. Like there's a huge identity crisis. I mean, We all go through it, and even as an adult, and we're still trying to figure it out, you know? Um, and I think that's the biggest thing that was hard for me all these years is I'm not only dealing with I lost my son, my only son, right? I'm dealing with, you know, now it's causing relationship problems. Like, that family and friend was there for a while, and she felt like I was trying to accuse her son, but would never talk it out, and I really feel to this day, and I hate saying this, but I truly believe that it would have saved her son's life. I mean, if we had really talked about what had happened, because we lost him 2 years ago.
I was just gonna say the best friend
Yeah, his best friend, yes, and my ex-best friend's son.
son,
Yes.
who was Kyle's best friend.
Yes, yes. And the one that, and I really,
Wow.
he lived with the shame and guilt of losing his best friend. But him and I did mommy's on the call.
The babies.
Yeah.
Here's another snack.
Yes. But
Wow.
I remember he would call me holidays, still keep in touch. And I remember that first year because it was like he passed in July, right? And then Kyle's birthday is November 29th. And so that was all real hard, all the first of things happening. And I remember the first holiday he reached out. And that's when I felt like I already kind of had ideas. People are coming to me. I had a feeling, because I mean, like, what best friend or friend doesn't know what's going on with the other friend, right?
Mhm.
And so I could tell he was just having a really hard time. So I said, hey, I just want you to know this. This is from my heart. I truly believe the people or person that did this or gave the pill or this, I forgive them because I don't think they knew. I truly believe that it was by accident. And right in that moment, he said, Aunt Stephanie, that really means a lot to me. And so that was one breaking point that, I think, of course, several years he had to keep dealing with. He was in and out of probation. He would call me from jail in trouble. And I would be like, okay. And he would be like, can you call my mom? And I'm like, when are you going to like, and I'd have to say, hey, like, you have to live a life that my son did not get to. Sorry, I'm trying to open these cranberries.
No, you're okay.
I don't have scissors. And there's like, oh. Funny. Um, so that was one of the things like I said, it's been was the hardest is, her and I had a falling out because of all this. And
Yeah.
I'm over there, like, because of the training, like prior, I probably would have just dismissed it and just actually like smile and just, get through it. But I'm really glad I really worked through my grief during that time frame. And I really like think now it's helped me. Never thought I'd have kids later, but like I said, we lost the friend 2 years ago. And as soon as it happened, I went immediately, was there for her. And we still haven't talked to it. And that's the sad part is some people just can't some people just can't talk through some stuff. Some people like to be at peace, but then not bring up some of the things that will hurt even worse.
Yeah.
To me, it helps. Like, I believe you got to bring the dark to light. Like, it just the way I believe, I've been rambling, sorry. I've been
No,
telling my
you're good.
thing at the same time, but
You're absolutely
um,
good.
like I said, I since Kyle passing, and I'll just share with your audience too, is I just needed to do something. I mentioned that I went for my master's degree. I'd finished. I got my counseling, Christian counseling. And when I lost him, I didn't practice. I still haven't practiced. I had them too. So it's like you have those bumps in the roads or, train wreck things,
Well,
and
no, this is a good segue because I was actually going to start pivoting to
okay.
that. Um, when you lost Kyle, and then it's
Yeah.
like eventually you found purpose in this.
Yes. Yes, I did.
And
Yeah. As a
what was that turning point, and what was that looking like? Because ultimately, I want to get to these two little cuties I've been looking at the whole
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I the turning point for me, and I'll share this, is when I know it sounds so bad, but you'll understand when I say it.
Mhm.
This is during COVID, right? And I didn't know what happened. And then when I did find out what happened, right before I said to somebody, I said, they better not pass this off as no COVID bullshit. Excuse my language. BS,
Oh, it's
right?
fair.
And I mean, because you heard all these different things happening around that time frame.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I got a letter from the health department, my local Tarrant County health department, and it's saying, and it's addressed to my son, and it's saying, "Hey, you tested positive for COVID."
What?
Yes,
How
yes.
how long had he been gone by this time?
Um, it was around the time that I found out. It was 3 or 4 months. It was after I had just found out what he had passed from. And what I
And
did is I immediately went to the coroners and I went to the Texas Health Department and I'm like, what is this? Like, I was like, luckily,
wow.
yeah, luckily it wasn't on his death certificate. But what they explained to me is that, during COVID and afterwards, what they do is they go ahead and swab everybody just to make sure. But I was like, I told the health department, I was like, this bothers me though, because this is 4 months later. If it's such a severe, thing, and you're supposed to do it within, and then it's gone by, you know, less than a month, right? We'll just say that. I was like,
Mm.
how many other people got this letter? I'm like, we were like,
Yeah, you're supposed to quarantine for like two
yes,
weeks
exactly.
and
And my thing is at that time too, I was like, what if I had other kids? What if like, like there could like stuff could have been prevented. Like, and what they basically told
mm.
me was they were behind and they were still sending letters out. And I said,
It's irrelevant at that point.
yes. I said,
Save
and
the
I told
trees.
them, I said, don't even send it out at this point. Just start from the time that okay, if it was a week or two and it's still like, yes, go ahead. Like, but that far behind, no,
That's
no.
insane. Well,
So
and
that's
now we all know what all that's
yes,
about. So, but
yes,
still,
yes,
like it's
yes.
what a shit show. I'm gonna
Yes.
say.
And so that is what God knew I needed that because that's what got me out of the bed. I went over there as soon as I found out. And then what I did is I, during this time, this is what I tell people
Mm.
is I had to do the same thing I would tell someone as a counselor therapist, right? Because it was really hard to find because it was during COVID, things were shut down. Like I got on Facebook, that was only kind of interactions of things. Like some of my own family, this is how bad during that time frame, you remember, is I had some people say they could not come to celebration of life was because of the COVID stuff. Like, and then I had other people that wouldn't go unless someone was vaccinated. And I'm like, haha, little do you know I'm not, but whatever. And I finally said to the point because they wanted to have two different things. I said, you know what? Whoever comes, comes. Like at this point, like I just need to honor my son, like
I oh my gosh.
yeah. So when I say I lost some,
Oh.
bad, it's like I'm dealing with that too. Then I like what's even crazier is, girl, you don't even probably know some of this.
Yo, we need to go get dinner is what we need to
Yes,
do
yes,
because this is gonna be longer than an hour
yes.
conversation.
So what's crazy is
Oh,
not only that, like, how like when things happen, they just keep happening and they just keep knocking you down.
huh?
Not only that, later on, my contract that I had, taxes ended, and that was really hard for me to keep doing taxes, so I stopped. But I still did my marketing on the side, and my contract didn't renew, so I'm out of a job, right? And then I'm trying to find new, like, so I had roommates luckily, so that was helping. But then I get in a car wreck. And so it's just like literally everything was getting stripped from me. Like I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I let my old roommate stay there. It was my grandparents' house. And I moved to Dallas. I had a friend that was like, hey, I have this little condo in Deep Ellum. Come do some marketing for me. And that's what finally got me because I was living at the house still where Kyle passed. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
and I felt like I don't know how to explain this, but I felt like a while ago his spirit left the house because even for a while, my roommate was like, Kyle's talking to me, I swear. He's saying mom, girlfriend. Use your words. No, ma'am. She's finding her voice.
Is
We're gonna
she?
we're gonna have a vocal one over here.
Mhm.
No, sister. No, sister. Sit, sit. Look, there you go, girl. You crazy.
Hi. Hi.
But so yeah, that's not only did I deal with that, and then like I told you, the letter set me, but after that, because I worked for NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, and that's the contract that ended, I was already actively advocating because you advocate for mental health with NAMI. And I had helped with the walk, right? And so it's like I look back at how like God was like already orchestrated stuff, and I didn't know how that was gonna help me. But what I basically did is I turned my pain into purpose, into passion. And so I started advocating. I started learning more about drugs and got my certificate to do that kind of stuff. And then I, the two areas I said I would never, which I tell people don't ever say never because like friends that said they never want to have kids, they have kids now, right? And I said I would never work with grief and addiction when I was going through my to get my to get my master's and to get my
Silver platter. Here you
yes.
go.
So of course that's what I've
Jeez.
I've dug into. And that's when I started Kyle Still Speaks, a nonprofit, and I have a foundation for him. And what I started doing is going around to schools and trying to get into churches. And girl, it was so hard at the beginning because nobody wanted to talk about it. People want to act like it's not happening in their school or in their town or their city or their family because of stigma. Because
Well, people are afraid to have a hard conversation.
yes,
It's
yes,
not it's not terrible, guys. Jesus Christ. Anyhow,
yes.
you see, I'm sorry, you're going to schools.
Yes, I was going to schools. And so then that's when I started noticing the only thing that was kind of helping me was because of my background, like
Mm,
my trainings from my schooling. The what I was finding out is the counselors and the people that they needed people to come speak, especially after COVID, it was hard to get people to come.
yeah.
And I was like, I'll speak wherever. I don't care where it takes me to. And that's when I met several key people on the Facebook and I started looking at fentanyl because like basically what like I said, I had to become what I would tell other people to do. And so I started looking for grief groups. And when I got into those grief groups, I was like, wow, this lady that's been 20, 30 years out feels exactly like how I'm feeling right now. And it just happened. I'm like I can't like that's unfathomable. Like, I mean, I understand it's always going to still hurt. One of the things I tell people about grief too is kind of like when you get in that car wreck, right? Or that sports injury and like when it gets cold again or like when certain things happen, like you still feel that pain, but
Yeah.
you learn to
Yeah.
alleviate by like doing physical therapy or stretching or and that's one of the things I had to learn is to like what I needed in that moment was other people that experienced it. So grief helped for a little bit, but then I started finding fentanyl groups and finding people that were already speaking out, but nobody was speaking here in Texas. It was just people up north in California where it was coming through the borders. And they invited me. It was within that first year that Kyle passed. And they were like, hey, this is before the administration changed. And they were like, hey, we're going to meet with the drug czar, Jim Carroll. Like, you want to come up here? And I was already taking a trip with one of my girlfriends to go to Asheville, North Carolina. And it was that weekend. Like, I was like, wait, I'm already going to be close. You want me to go to Ohio? I'll just go there. And I met the most key players, like people that I've done stuff now with, and they helped me to do it here in Texas, and so that's how I started Kyle Still Speaks, and then I decided that I started meeting all these other people that were losing their loved ones too. Like I met a lady named Tina who lost her husband that had been, recovered and, dealing and gave in one more time and got the wrong stuff and was me. So that's when I formed North Texas Fentanyl Coalition because I realized it wasn't just about me and Kyle or Kyle and I, right? It was about all of our stories together, right? Like, and that's what's been more powerful. So that's when I started doing like rallies and events and just trying to do something with my life because I didn't know what else to do.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've even been on Texas is a big ass state.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen the billboard.
Yeah. Oh, you
Uh,
did. Yeah,
I
yeah.
multiple times
Yes.
going to Houston, going to Austin. For those that don't know, you and or a few other pair. I don't know how you collaborated, but there's like what five or six five or six teenagers on a billboard,
Yes.
and one of them's your boy,
Yeah. Sorry.
and it's to pretty much like the faces of fentanyl. I don't know what the movement is,
Yes.
but it's something
Yeah.
along those lines. It's
Yeah.
crazy
So what we did with that one, that was really like, to be honest, as you know, government and other, Bubba, stop. Government and other things take a while for everything,
for
right?
sure.
Bubba, stop. I'm like, what time is it? Oh, it's not even dinner time, dude.
They're eating like it's dinner time. I'm watching
Yes,
them chow down.
yes. They're my kids' raisers, so they love Nutri-Game bars. But So one of the things that I was working on is, I at that time here in Texas, and this is different in all states, right? There I found out there was, and I met Tara. She does Drug-Induced Homicide Foundation, and she lost her daughter, and she was a police officer in Chicago, and she couldn't
Hmm.
even get her own people to help um like investigate her own child's death, and she was on the force, so she stepped away.
Jeez.
Yes, it was sad.
Don't get
And
me started about Chicago.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Don't get
Oh,
me
yeah.
started then.
And what's nice is I said, "Hey, how can I get what you did there here?" And so she's like, "Here, I'll give you exactly what I took to them." And I said, "Okay." Well, because I was, how God says, just build it and they'll come. And that's what he told me. He said, because it started small. And then once one person found me, then they're like, "Hey," they're like, "I know the sheriff, he's about to do this thing." And I was like, "Okay, Sheriff Wayborn, okay." And he's like, "Can you come meet the governor?" I
Hmm.
was like, "Okay, okay, I don't even know where governor is at that." I was not okay, let me just explain this.
Your politics are zero.
I was zero. Like I have a story that's so funny about Kyle. Like before he passed, he started getting really into it, right?
Yeah.
And he at one point was trying to tell me something, and I go, "Oh, that's conspiracy. Like whatever. Like I don't want to hear it, like." And I grew up with that, I guess, And he was like, "Mom, you know where conspiracy comes from, right?" And he like start pulling it up. And don't get me wrong, I'm gonna butcher this, but there was a president that started it basically. Like they did it to divide everybody.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Mom, this conspiracy was all started to get people to be opposite and not really know the truth of things and to deter him other ways." And I was like, so now I would say I'm a conspiracy junkie. Like anything that's happening, I'm like, let me see if this is true.
Hmm.
And I share that is because my son was into politics stuff. And that's why I always say is, "God, you're gonna have to guide me, Kyle, like show me a sign, like what I am or not supposed to do." And that's when, like I said, I met the Governor Abbott. I showed him what I was trying to do. And he said he also lost a friend to fentanyl. So he was
Hmm.
like, "Yes, I want to do something." And there was other parents there that had lost their loved ones too. And what was sad about that dynamic is one of the parents, she was a grandparent, she lost her grandson, um, and she was in Alito, which is not even maybe 40 minutes from me, right? Because
Yeah.
all big. But they investigated and immediately closed it, very like, and prosecuted. Like it took them a long. When they prosecuted, they found this guy, and he had been going through through all the chains of the cartel, and like so they
They
did some
got
good,
him.
yeah, some work
Mm.
on it. And so that was one instance here in Texas right at that time that I was like, "Look, but my city didn't do it." Right. And it's like, so I gave it to him. He goes, "Well, do you want to make this a Kyle's Law?" And I said, "No." I was like, "This is drug-induced homicide. Like, I don't want it." Like, and he's like, "You sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "I have some other ideas for Kyle's Law." Like mine, I'm working on actually right now. And remind me, we'll get into that segment. But um, basically with the new law I want to do and Unite Against Fentanyl, which, you saw my post, which why you reached out,
Yeah.
is on a national level, and they work on policies and trying to get things passed and all that. And the Kyle's Law, what I want to do is I want to, there's the Good Samaritan law, right?
Hmm.
Where it's like, okay, you won't get in trouble if you're da da. Well, I'm sorry, but I want people to get in trouble that aren't doing that. Like, I believe as a person, a human being, if you see someone, croaking, choking, falling over, you're supposed to aid help. And so that's what I want to do for the Kyle's Law is I've met other parents that have lost their kids too, and their friends or maybe just people they hung out with just left them just to die. Didn't
Yeah.
call the ambulance and call nobody.
Or
Like,
put your cell phones down and not stop recording it.
yes, that too, right?
That's a
Right.
big one. Like,
Yes.
I
See,
don't want you to record my demise. I want you to try to help me.
yeah.
You know?
And so that's my next thing I want to do.
Good.
But yeah. So before that, when I met Governor Abbott, he was like, "Yes." And it took a while. There's other people trying to pass it too, and they all came together. And as you saw, that did get passed. So they're now prosecuting. It's just
Sick.
still taking a while. But But like you talked about the billboard, one of the other things that happened is Stephanie Rowe with Texas Against Fentanyl, she lost her son after mine, and she has done a lot too. She's bringing all the Texas people together, so I'm not alone anymore, which is nice. And what she's doing is she got a Tucker's Law passed, and she's getting where it's still kind of in the process, basically, you know how everything goes slow.
Hmm.
She is, I think it's like high school and up. I think she's going to start working on the other ones later. But basically, every school is going to have curriculum around fentanyl, like to discuss like drugs and like how severe it is, because there's so many people and families that still don't know about it. So she passed that Tucker's Law to get that done. And she's the one that when that happened, we had a conference, a press conference thing, and like a whole seminar with Governor Abbott. It was called the One Pill Kill Summit, basically. Yeah, and he had me come. And that's sad. We have to have a summit now because it's so severe. And he had me come out to speak because he had met me prior, and we talked about it. That was one of the things I liked about him is he had discussions. He was like, he opened up the audience and he opened it to us that have lost our loved ones. And that's when he said, he right then he was like, okay, she just brought up that these parents and grandparents are paying for billboards and paying for flyers and paying for things like they should be paying for like they're focusing on their own lives, right? Like and
Pay for a wedding, pay for
yes,
college.
right, exactly. Pay for college, pay for other things, you know? And so that's when he had the Texas Health Department. They basically got funded for okay, here's your news. It's all gone.
God, it's like they don't ever eat, you know?
All gone. No more. Sorry. No more. Okay. Thank you. I love you.
They're too much, man.
I swear, what's crazy is they're like, "How do you do it?" And I'm like, "It's only when I tend to get on phones, and it's like, no, I guess not on them."
You've been
But
doing a great job. I don't know how you do it. I'd be like, okay, quit. I quit.
yeah,
Give them back.
well, if I know if I'm in the other room too, then that's when one of them, because she wants to be right next to me most of the time, and she would be just hollering through the door, so we wouldn't get nothing.
I got you.
Um,
Shoot.
well, I know I've been talking a lot of it, and I'm sorry for your audience. Hopefully, everybody's
No,
on
this is
the
great.
wavelength with me, but
This is great. I think it's there's something I wanted to talk about really fast
yeah,
because I heard it in a different I try to do my homework on my guests.
yes,
You said and I'm pretty sure you said it, correct me if I'm wrong. A fatal dose of fentanyl is 2 milligrams.
yep,
And you said Kyle
yep. He died with
was
12.
died with
Yep,
12.
12, 12.
That literally blew my mind when I heard you say that.
Yeah,
Like 6 times the amount.
yes.
That
And that,
is
yeah. Oh, I know.
insane.
Yes. And that was one of the things that I was like, okay, how can I remember when Kyle first passed and there was a little bit of shame and guilt on my side too, like, oh wait, he died from this, right? And so God released me and he was like, once I like researched it and then it came around his birthday, he was like, this week I want you to talk about it. I was just gonna do it one day on his birthday, but then I was like, me from our marketing, I started making a campaign. Like
Yeah.
each day I released facts and I led up to the day of and I'm like, this is how my son passed. If you've been wondering all week why I've been sharing this, like I had to, it's like I had to like what helped me like reveal, like, just take those blinders off and be like, you know, this is something like it finally, I don't know if you saw, but it Jim Roll, I forget his organization nonprofit right now on top of my head, but he had been trying to get fentanyl when he lost his son even before mine, like a couple of years before then. And he was trying to get fentanyl deemed as a WMD, which I didn't know what that was. I had to research, but it's a weapon of mass destruction. It finally got done. Like
Hmm.
this, I think it was like was it this year or last year? But finally, it's like now things are starting to finally kind of happen, which is really nice to actually see. It's just sad that it had to take like 4, 5, 6,
Well,
years.
well, but when you see what it does, and I heard you talk about the one police officer that got exposed to it, and I saw that clip.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's just like I don't even think he touched it. He was just there.
Oh, he
And
just
next thing you know,
inhaled.
he just
Yep,
collapsed.
yep, yep.
And they had to shoot him with I don't know how many things of Narcan.
They had to do it until the ambulance got there. So I think they did like three or four, like so which is two boxes. There's two Narcans in each box. And so they, as soon as it's starting to fade out again, you can tell because they just start going under again, like and
Yeah,
not inherent. And the good thing about that, we give free Narcan out too. There's a lot of places that do that now. And
I need to get a couple.
yeah, and I show them, like,
Seriously.
and I tell everybody, like, when I meet them, like, put it in your medicine cabinet, like, talk to your, like, I know you said at the beginning, hey, be careful, kids, but it's like, I'm to the point where I tell people, when your kid's old enough to recognize and do things, like, they need to know what things are. Like,
Mm.
I mean, I even gave some Narcan to my grandmother. Like, I mean, I know it sounds crazy to other people, but they're now starting to give that in, as a, I don't know if it's a like a, required thing for medicines if they know it's a because you can overdose on your own meds if you aren't paying, like especially an elderly person that maybe forgot they took it earlier, right? And so
Yeah,
I'm sure that there was some even at her house, like yeah. So I just it's the biggest thing that I've been doing. I'm really like fortunate and glad is last year I did it's called Walk for Life. So everybody go to walkforlives.org, and basically United Against Fentanyl is the new organization that I took a role as national marketing director, and basically I am helping them to get the word out, and our goal right now is we want to have the walk in 100 cities in 50 states. Like it's July 11th and we want everybody to walk that day. I know it's going to be hot, but we're some of them are going to be inside, but taking them outside for a walk around. But there's something about walking, like even in the Bible, or they're walking around Jericho, like walking and like what's the word? Just demanding and combine, like this is our city, like just kind of taking hold of and bringing awareness to anybody that's walking, driving by. And then what's nice about it is we have some new partnerships, and I can't tell yet to y'all, but stop. But if you go online later, it'll be stop, sister, stop. It'll be announced. But we have some big partnerships happening, so it'll get the word out more. But after that event, we have a DC event, and that'll be in September
what do you
26th.
have in your mouth, kid?
Oh my gosh, you know what? It's so luckily it's on childproof, but it's the teething tablets.
It's the teething Tylenol tablets.
Yeah, they're little
Yeah.
they're like they're not Tylenol, but they're
Oh,
organic teething.
oh
And
my God.
he got into my bag. This is my little explorer.
Proof.
Yes.
Proof.
I'm so glad it's
Childproof.
yeah. Yes. Okay,
Well,
y'all.
if y'all don't have a location here in the Metroplex yet, let's chat. We
Yes.
might
I
could
would
get
love
something.
to. Yes.
Well, real quick before I let you go, because it's been such a wonderful interview, and these babies look like they're getting antsy. So
Yes, they are.
before we let you go, where can people find you and find more information on all of this?
Okay, yes. Let's see. You can go to kylestillspeaks.org, or you can find me on Facebook or basically any social media. Like you can look up North Texas Fentanyl Coalition, or like I said, kylestillspeaks.org, and it's all there, and it takes to all the channels. And you can even follow the twins. I started them their own page too, the Thames twins,
The thing.
THAMS, And that's one of the things that
They're
I
so
truly
cute.
feel blessed from. I I would never, like, if you would have asked me then after losing Kyle if I'd be where I'm at, I would never have fathomed where I'm at right now.
I,
Like,
I was just gonna say that. I was gonna talk about it, but that's all right. You have the twins now. You have these
yes,
beautiful little babies I've been staring at. And
yes,
for those
yes,
that can't see, the curliest of hair.
yes, yes.
They're
And so
adorable.
it's a blessing because Daddy wanted a boy because he didn't have one. I already had Kyle, and then he has a girl that's 8. Her name is Jessie. So I got my girl now. Look, see, she's always
Mama's girl. Hi, baby. Hi.
And so
I love it.
right now too, I'm hoping everybody, can somehow see the story, and
Yeah.
like they're going through something. I'm actually with the time I have, because I'm not working on just with them, I am writing a book. So hoping by the end of the year it'll be out, but it's gonna be called Beautiful Chaos, Pain to Purpose, and it's gonna talk about the past. Basically, what I realized is each year it was like it's kind of like, a plant growing. Like that's kind of what I, envision. And so I talk about grief. And that's one of the things I feel like we don't talk about enough is like, I feel like even during my training, right? Like I feel like we could have talked about some of that aspect because like it wasn't until I got my master's degree afterwards, which the training helped me to go back to school and get that, is when I realized grief is actually anything that you've been disappointed in, or like maybe like a breakup, or that car that, remember I got in the accident and I love that car, like anything like that that happened to you that you're maybe disappointed in or upset about, or, just a loss of anything. We just don't talk about it in society. So it's
Hmm.
like it finally like happened to me. I'm like, it just yeah. And I feel like if we talked a little bit more about some of those
Yeah.
and more transparent and real,
Hmm.
it would help us to cope in everyday life. Oh my goodness,
Someone
Goliath.
once, I heard somebody once say grief is love trying to find a place to land.
Yes, I've heard that too. Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, that is amazing. And I'll be honest with you, I don't do good with grief. I don't, I was a first responder for years. I'm like, I
Wow.
don't, you know,
Yes.
I would refer to that person as a body, not, I was
Yeah.
that person.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
um, like I said, we recently lost a friend of ours and a buddy of ours, he was, he threw up like he violently for a couple nights. He had to go to the emergency room, and then
Right, right.
next thing you know, I've got chills, body aches, throwing up, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Doc's like, you're actually fine. This might be a virus. I'm
Mm.
like, really? And we buried him Friday, so just recently,
Yeah.
and everything came on Sunday. And then I was in the ER yesterday because Monday was a complete shit show.
Oh my God.
And someone's like, it could be grief. I'm like, well, this isn't grief. This
Yeah.
is god awful if it is. So, to your point, maybe we talked about it a little bit more.
Yes, yes. And I
Um,
can always join again. Hey, it's what happened? She
what?
has a lovey and he grabbed it and he's has it now. I
Uh-oh.
Thanks, take it back. It's okay.
I see the mom's look. The mom look is starting to come out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I won't keep you too much longer. Bear with me. I'm going to say bye to my listeners. I'm going to ask you a little something after the fact, but
Okay,
I'm going
okay.
to say bye to them. Hey,
Yes.
hang on one second, okay? All right, and thank you for being here, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
Well, guys, there you have it. Such a wonderful interview. I didn't really talk much, and I love those kind of interviews. But you guys stay tuned for more. I've got a really incredible guest lined up. I'm not going to give any spoilers. You're just going to have to keep listening. So we appreciate you guys being here today, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all that other stuff that makes you YouTube famous. Until then, peace.